I'm Ashton Addison from Blockwest Capital for Investment Pitch Media and the Crypto Coin Show. And today on Blockchain Interviews, we have Omri Lachman, co-founder and CEO of Leap. Omri, welcome to the show, and thanks for taking the time.
Hey, Ashton, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Let's dive into the world of NFTs, expanding into so many new industries, and I'm looking forward to hearing what your team at Leap is working on. So let's dive straight into it. Let's start off the conversation with just an overview of the solutions that your team is driving into the space, and then we'll dive into all the details.
Sounds good. Well, so Leap is actually a web-free talent endorsement, engagement, and discovery platform, which we decided to actually hide inside a full-blown game loop. The purpose of gamifying the platform is obviously driven from deep research conducted for a very long period of time, really understanding the needs and also potential problems in, well, several audiences and realms that haven't really gotten together so far. And that goes to sports, Web 2.0, and then Web 3.0. So what we're trying to achieve through our stab here is to actually evolve the whole ecosystem by bringing these audiences together and introducing a big set of new wins for our target audience, which is primarily youth and adolescents.
Mm-hmm. Very cool, and I like that it's packed into a game. I haven't really seen that yet, although everything is being gamified now, and it just makes it more exciting. And I'm feeling like there's more and more athletes, celebrities, and artists that are getting on top of this train because they realize the potential of connecting directly with their fans and having those middlemen cut out. So I'd love to hear a little bit more on, that sounds like a big project, especially building it into a game. How long you've been working on this and where exactly your team's at right now.
So before making, I guess, the big choice of going full-blown web-free blockchain and tokenize an economy, this company actually spent over 3 years in research, user engagement, throwing a bunch of proof of concepts out there to actually test the water, prove product market fit, etc. So we've been at it for quite some time before actually pulling the trigger and going out as Leap the way we are right now.
That's good to hear. And yeah, definitely do a little bit of research and also ensure that the timing is right. I feel like in the last 3 years, now more than ever, it seems like the right time when, and not just because NFTs did well last year and now there's sort of a bit of a slowdown as the market slowed down a little bit, but that's where the real building is done, and then the initial phase of people understand that this technology is there, and then the ones with actual value start coming into the market. So I feel like the timing is right for this.
I couldn't agree more. I think, putting aside the NFT hype of the last 12 plus months, which is great in terms of discovery and initial adoption. I think that, through time, our utilization of NFTs come mostly from the technology enablement rather than, of course, the hype, and taking yet another stab at digital collectibles, right? I mean, we saw a great opportunity here to serve the goal for which we started this venture, which is first and foremost, how do we can actually create democratization of sports? How can we introduce this industry and its raw material or fuel, being talents, with a set of new wins, new opportunities, rather than the traditional ones? Not to replace the traditionals, but actually sort of like enhance the envelope.
Mm-hmm, definitely. And what do you think is going to be some of the keys to success as you do launch out and continue to grow? There's a lot of factors in determining the right sports, determining the right talents, and big names to come on the platform, and also making it usable for people that aren't in crypto to easily onboard into the platform.
Absolutely. I think that, first and foremost, we are sports agnostic in the sense of, choosing a specific field in sports. We're making Leap widely available for anyone engaged in sports activities, period. And, as a personal passion, I've been engaged in sports since I can remember myself. But even through that, I get exposed to new sports fields that I never knew existed, even now. So that's why it was so important to keep it so wide open. And again, mostly look at the traditional way the funnel works in sports. And, that was probably the biggest motivation to start Leap. Today, we're witnessing, and this is not an exaggeration, we're witnessing over to 99% drop in between that point a kid starts engagement in sports activities to the point they actually become professional. We lose a lot of raw material along the way, whether it's because they get discouraged or distracted. And everything I just meant and counted relates to those who are actually showing on the radar. But what happens with those kids or youth or teenagers who live in those areas of our world where you don't have little leagues or you don't have after school activities? They're not even showing on the radar. So for us, making that clash, and you were absolutely right to point on that, we are actually looking at a critical mass of non-crypto or non-native crypto users on our platform, and we're actually onboarding them into Web3 without even knowing they're being onboarded into Web3. That's why it took us so long to really craft and shape the game setting, the game loop, rather than turning into yet another play to earn or yet another NFT game, which is fine. But we're actually looking to serve sort of like a greater purpose here, which is far longer in range, hence has to be sustainable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great point. And that's crazy to see the drop off in, kids should be playing more sports, and any ways we can keep them more engaged is going to be helpful. And, you mentioned there being sports agnostic. I think that's great. And it opens the target market to most of the world. People of all ages love sports. There's so many sports all around the world. And that's a huge market. But having a go-to-market strategy when you first start, I feel is important, because it's hard to make a product and say it's for everybody and just hope that everybody joins on day one. And I'm curious if you have a specific strategy on the initial launch, if you're focused on specific sports or specific athletes, and how you're going to approach day one.
So for the challenge you described has been the challenge of almost anyone in the tech space who decided to go B2C and target this vast, broad audience. And it's almost like asking the question, okay, so tomorrow we're about to launch Instagram or TikTok, but it's only for those who cycle or those who have blonde hair, right? It has to be robust. Otherwise, it won't serve the purpose. And for that, I've been a serial entrepreneur in the tech space for the last 16 years, and we have a tremendous team here over at Leap. My philosophy to answer this challenge has always been that one killer feature in the product that generates a valuable, almost to the verge of profound win for the user. And in order to make that accessible in the bootstrapping stage where we're still small and can't afford hundreds of millions of dollars on user acquisition, that goes down to the value of your product and your go-to-market partners. And with that, Leap will be open in a public beta in the coming 2.5 to 3 months. And I'm happy to say that we've already lined up a pretty long list of very meaningful go-to-market partners who gives us already access to some millions of users in the diverse spaces that we're targeting. Having all that said, we've created a nice little eclectic diversity of some mainstream sports such as soccer, which is a religion in many parts of our world, but made sure it's mixed with those sports fields that for some are not considered mainstream. Certain areas of athletics, martial arts, and in specific fields, because we feel like those sports spaces and those who practice it are the ones who are sort of like missing the spotlight and the grand stage in today's social media and mainstream media.
Definitely, great point, Omri, and you're right about the other sports, and I've seen many discussions around how athletes in sports that aren't at the top are really getting cut out of a lot of value. MMA fighters or martial artists, it's really a lot harder for them than people that are in European soccer leagues to make it big. And I'm curious if you have any extra insight on the benefits for the talent themselves joining into Leap and how they can connect with fans or how else they benefit.
Absolutely, and I think that is our primary goal, and that's drive value and onboard all these emerging talents into this platform that not only encourages them and motivates them to evolve, it also helps them to learn what is the true meaning of ownership over digital assets and how they can utilize that to further evolve. So by that, close a certain loop. To be specific, and by the way, the reason why we wrapped Leap as a game rather than another social network is because when an athlete makes its first steps, and I think we've seen multiple attempts in the tech space to change and improve the way the current industry works, and that's valuable to a certain extent. But we have to remember that, it cannot change in a dramatic way, maybe only incrementally. There will always be 22 players on a soccer field and 10 on a basketball court. Those numbers cannot change by a tenfold. Up until now, whether we're down in the streets of a favela in Brazil or down in a certain village in Africa, or even here in southern Israel, if you ask any kid what is their big dream, they will tell you is that to be the next Leo Messi or the next Serena Williams or the next LeBron. But we're here to merge their day-to-day living on social media along with their passion to sport and actually teach them that there's a far quicker win for them rather to wait for someone to spot them out and call them for a tryout in a certain European or American team. Hence, the value here is actually set for those who are part of the 99% who won't make it to the pros. So in random conversations, I always say, we wouldn't resist having the next LeBron found and discovered on Leap, but we did not create Leap for the next LeBron. We created Leap for that kid in class who may even be slightly overweighted, but want to be part of that social pattern and practice a certain field in sports. Whether that kid turn into a next micro ambassador for a sports brand, I don't know, but I know that there's value in him trying, or her, and there's value for people who are sports fans to be there to encourage them to keep going.
Mm-hmm. I like that insight, Omri. And I'm thinking of the games themselves. There's a lot of games coming out, and it's tough for the game developers to build a game that has retention, where the players want to play for years. There's been some namesake sports games where soccer fans love to play FIFA, and people are playing NFL games, NBA as their favorite players. In terms of the game development, what's your plan on ensuring that there's a high level of retention and that there's not the initial hype and then kids get bored after playing for a week?
Absolutely. So I think, again, there is a combination of the way we research the space and how we actually rolled it out into a product. First and foremost, Leap is not a metaverse or yet another NFT game where you portray a virtual character. Leap is a physical to digital game, meaning that if you're engaged in sports activities, that is your only way to play Leap, because you're actually playing your very own self and introducing the world with your capabilities through the creation of immersive and diverse video content. In opposed to many other games, the Leap game loop does not have an end of game status. The game is built in a way that continuously motivates you to keep striving to climb through levels, earn more privileges, and enhance. And that's where we blended the whole concept of play to earn, not to put tokens in the pockets of users, rather than really closing the loop on motivating and keep going. And I think, that is the one way to create sustainability. We blended everything, at least in our view, we blended everything that is good in gamification, social media, and then tied it up with sports, which we have to remember, first and foremost, it's a game, especially for those making their first steps. So, what's better than, whether you're playing soccer or ultimate frisbee? We live in a global planet right now. What is the better way than for you to go on a one-on-one match with a kid on the other side of the planet just to show off, right?
Mm-hmm. I love it. That's I'm really looking forward to seeing and how the game works. And maybe you can talk a little bit about, you mentioned there the next steps on a beta. Do you have more timelines on what's coming next in the near future with Leap?
Sure. So Leap has been in a closed alpha environment with our early adapters for the last few months. We're working with some of our flagship go-to-market partners in some corners of our planet for the specific events of deployment in their territories or within their realms, specifically Latin America, Africa, and certain areas within Europe. So other than the release of the public beta in the coming quarter, I think, and just to tease it up, you can expect some meaningful partnership events with meaningful entities that will just make it far more exciting for our users to be part of. More so, simultaneously to the release, we will be making the public release of our token, which is obviously the fuel for our economy. And clearly, the only way to utilize this token will be, to support your evolution within Leap.
Very cool, Omri. I'm looking forward to that. And for the viewers and sports fanatics and players that are looking to get involved right when the public beta comes out, what is the best way for them to follow along with Leap?
So we'll be actually opening up the lobby for those who wants to register and gradually be onboarded into Leap. The best way to do that is to just go onto our current landing page, which will pen registrations very soon, and that's www.playleap.io.
Sounds great, Omri. I will leave that link in the description box as well for the viewers. I really appreciate you coming on, taking the time to speak about Leap. I'm looking forward to seeing how the gameplay is and just getting more people involved and retained in sports. It's not just it's not just fun to play games, but also very healthy. And I feel like
Absolutely.
People need more sports, and I could use more sports as well. So thank you so much for taking the time. All the best with the roadmap to the public launch, and let's follow up in the near future.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Ashton.